Rich Reynolds, our US correspondent, joins us afternoon, Rich.
Yeah, man.
And it's
Way to go.
double pleasure this week because Christina Brady is with us from Black Tower Financial Management as well. Hiya, how are you?
Too hot.
Too hot. But, hey, we've turned the air conditioning down. There's always that question.
No,
do you turn it down or do you turn it up?
No, it's perfect.
It's down, isn't it? That's all right.
Perfect.
Yeah, got it sorted for you. And we'll start today by looking at American expats moving. If people who haven't moved as yet want to move, and things that you need to think about, investment and pensions and PFIC. What is PFIC? I had to look this up. The Passive Foreign Investment Company Rules.
Yes.
Okay, you remember these, Rich? Because
I do not.
You just didn't worry about them.
I'm probably in violation, but I'm telling you, I beat that rap, and so and the cops will never catch up with me.
Don't make me laugh.
Let's find out. I mean, how difficult is it? What difficulties did you find when you were thinking about moving to Spain?
You know, the biggest thing for me was to decide what to bring, what not to bring, how to fill out the forms, and in what order to fill the forms. Because as we know, you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this, and when this is approved, you do this, and that was the hardest thing. But right now, I just finished got my 5-year card, and that was getting the appointment to go to the police station. That was the hardest, most frustrating thing.
I think we're all finding that at the moment, no matter what nationality, getting that, the appointment for anything at the police stations or anything to do with your residency is a bit difficult at the moment, but you've just got to hang on in there.
Yeah, well, July and August, you've got no chance.
Well,
anyway,
that's true,
because
yeah.
in August, everything closes down. So if you haven't got your appointments now, it's more likely to be sort of the autumn time, if you're lucky.
So where do you start with this when you are thinking perhaps about moving to Europe, moving to Spain specifically? I mean, the figures show that something like 42,000 Americans live in Spain now. Something like 5.4 million Americans abroad. But do you know what they don't really know? Because they don't count the figures. They're not really sure.
Yeah, that's right. And that you said 34,000?
It's 42,000 in Spain.
Boy,
yeah.
that sounds low to me.
Yeah. Well, that you see again, we think about this with
I
Brits,
thought
don't
the
we?
Americans were very good at tracking their citizens.
No, apparently not.
No.
Well, not according to what I've been reading. The Association of Americans Resident Overseas are very difficult to work it out because we don't count the numbers. They say so. But something like 5.4 overseas. Anyway, plenty more moving to Spain, as we know, and it throws up all kinds of different issues.
Can I ask, Rich, how do they move to Spain now? What sort of visas do they need? Because with the golden visa going, what visas can they get?
They can get I'm on a non-lucrative visa right now, meaning I can't make a living, and my the other visa is digital nomad.
Okay, same as for everyone else.
Yeah.
There are a number of them, aren't there? And we're going to be exploring that, actually, Rich, in a few weeks with the Alicante lawyers, and we'll run through all of the different types of them. But the main ones are that non-lucrative. There's the nomad as well that people have been using.
Is there a lot of paperwork you have to do in America?
You know what? It really wasn't bad, but I remember because I lived on the West Coast, my what do you call it that I need to go to? My embassy that I had to go to.
I see.
I'm sorry, was in consulate. My consulate was in San Francisco. And to me, it was a huge cash grab because what we had to do is I had to fly to San Francisco, which was an hour and a half flight at a cost.
Yeah.
My wife and I went to San Francisco, and we brought all of reams and reams and binders, and they just wanted to make sure we had enough money.
All your family history, and
and my fingerprints and my a criminal background check from the FBI, not from the cops, the FBI. So we showed up at this thing, and they took everything in, and of course they tried to make it very difficult, and they said, "Oh well, everything had been translated," but they said we were missing our name at the top of the financials, like on every page. And they said, well, how do we know this is yours? And I go, because they're all together. And they said, well, I'm sorry. And oh, yes, by the way, they closed at 1 o'clock, and now it was like 12:30 because they had we were late getting in, so now it's 12:30, and he says, well, you're going to have to come back tomorrow. And I said, no, we're not coming back tomorrow. So we ran to Kinko's, and we got I called my financial guy, and we got everything sorted out, and it was fine. But they really tried to do that. So in other words, they said, well, how long is this going to be? They said, before we get approval. They said, could be a week, could be 2 weeks, could be 2 months, could be 3 months. So we got home 3 weeks later, we got approval. Oh, you got your visa.
Oh,
that sounds really quick to me. It does.
Well, the way things work in the States and maybe in the UK, when you get a license, when you get a thing, when you get it, they mail it to you. Not here. They said, you need to fly back to San Francisco. We flew back to San Francisco to say that, carrying the hotel and everything. It was easily $1,000. So we go to San Francisco. We walk in. They go, here you go. That's it.
And that was your nearest
that was my
Spanish
everyone.
consulate.
I think there may be about a dozen in the whole country.
Yes.
But, we were... we're about 500 miles away from San Francisco. So
that's nothing in the States, 500 miles. You drive that in the afternoon.
It's nothing.
Yeah, because like in the UK, you've just got London or you've got the one in Scotland, haven't you, Edinburgh? And
Oh, my
it.
God.
And I have to say, it's not just this way round as well. I know that European citizens and Spanish citizens in Britain have had no end of hassle with getting their paperwork sorted as well, certainly post-Brexit. So, I think it's the world over.
It is. I think they're making it more and more difficult.
But the whole idea of you want to get your card, your 5-year, your 2-year, mail it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, why do I have to come in for everything? Why do I have to stand there? And, that's the thing I don't understand. That being said, I adore living here, and it's been a wonderful.
Yeah, but in
almost
Spain
6
you
years.
have to. Like when I picked up my TIE, you had to go and give your fingerprint.
Yeah.
So no one could go for you. So if you were unwell or something, there was no chance. They wouldn't mail it. You had to go in person. They're very strict, aren't they? I think it's
3 goes it took me.
It's a throwback from the Franco era, isn't it? When there was lots of red tape and it's just carried on and on and on.
3 goes it took me.
Is that right?
Yeah. Not because I couldn't get my fingerprints right or anything. It was just that was the last time that I went. It was just they turned me down.
Turned you down?
Kept turning me down.
Was that criminal record? Was that it?
No, I don't have a criminal
Are you a
record.
bad driver?
They just didn't like the look of him. You can understand.
I don't mean none photos.
He walked in and
the
guy said, "No, senor, no."
That was just paperwork going in, and it was no a few times. But that happens.
Yeah.
That happens.
I got someone to do the paperwork for me, so I didn't have to worry. But I feel sorry. I had someone come in the other day and give me their TIE card, and I noticed that they'd put their date of birth as 2020, which meant this woman was only 4 years old. So now she's got to go through it all again, even though it's their mistake, and get it all done again.
And wait for the appointment.
Yeah, so be very, very careful that,
Lord.
they get everything right for you.
All right. But ultimately, it does work out in the end for most people. And it might be a difficult process. And as I was pointing out, it's not just here, difficult process in Britain for lots of Europeans
it's everywhere.
as well.
It's across the world, I think, at the moment.
It is.
So, paperwork then. Be aware. Make sure that you're ready for delays. I guess we've got out of that first part of talking about getting
and be
to
patient,
Europe.
very patient, and get everything translated because they are a stickler for that.
Okay, easily done in the States, getting Spanish translations, though, I would have thought.
There are people who do it. You have to look it up. You have to Google it and get somebody to do that.
Because it has to be
But even your financials, even the numbers, numbers are different, expressed differently over there.
You can have a comma instead of a dot.
Exactly, and it's
maybe you weren't as rich as you thought you were, Rich.
I go, is this all the money I have? 19 euros is all I have in my account.
So they've taken the rest.
There was that 19 million.
19 million.
Billion, I'm not sure which.
There we go.
So what about then investment and pensions for US expats? How can you bring it here without breaking the rules?
I think you've got to be very, very careful because we've just started dealing with US expats. We've got a US office, and so now we can deal with them. And there's this thing called PFIC, which is the Passive Foreign Investment Company Rules. And you have to comply with it. If you deviate at all, the fines are so punitive. It is unbelievable. So what it means is basically if you invest in anything that isn't US based, it has to follow certain rules. And I've got a list here. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Right. They have certain rules that they have to apply to companies, foreign corporations, and they have to meet these tests before you can invest in them. So one of them is the income test. I think 75% or more of the corporation's gross income has to be passive income. And there's an assets test, which means 50% of the company's average assets have to produce passive income or are held in a product that is passive income. So it's very, very confusing. And you have to find out, is the investment based or regulated outside the USA? Is it a collective investment? Does the investment do most of the work for you, i.e. is it passive? And you have to make sure that everything you have is PFIC compliant. And one thing you can't do is you can't invest in open or closed funds and ETFs. Now, ETFs are my favourite because they're low cost, easy to invest in. So ETFs, you can only invest in them if they're domiciled in the US. If they're not, you can't. So what we're offering at Black Tower is this service where you come to us and we have got a couple of discretionary fund managers that have put together PFIC compliant investment portfolios. So it means you will never ever fall foul of this rule. So you don't have to worry. And what they do is they will give you all the reports you need. So they give you the tax reporting for the IRS, everything. So you don't have to worry that they're going to suddenly come to you and say, look, you've got one. And even if your investment is, say, 0.5% of your portfolio is non-PFIC compliant, the whole thing is non-PFIC.
Wow.
Okay, so you have to be very, very careful. And if you've got a non-PFIC compliant investment and then it becomes compliant, that doesn't apply because it was once non-compliant. So you have to be so very, very careful.
How does it work? Is there a QROPS for pensions to come like we have for Brits?
It's mostly investments. The QROPS, anything to do with pensions, we tend to hand over to our US office who will deal with it in the US and make sure that it's compliant with everything that you need in the US and in
do people
Europe.
move their money here or do they keep it in the US and draw
investments,
from it then?
they tend, well, it depends. If they move here, some of them do change their investments to here, okay, because they need someone to advise them here. And it's very, financial advisors in the US on investment portfolios can't advise them because
exactly
they don't
the
know.
same as we've seen with UK.
But with the
UK advisors
pensions,
can't.
it's all done through the US office because there's different pension regulations and they have to take special exams and it's very, very complicated. Oh my God, pension rules in the US. I think they're bad here and in the UK. So we have a team in the US who do that. I had one gentleman who used to live in Denia. He moved to Florida. He has a QROPS. And so I've handed him over to the US expert because I don't want him to fall foul of any US tax laws or any investment laws within his portfolio. I don't want him to have any fines or any worries. He's in his late 70s, nearly 80. And you want peace of mind. You don't want to be sitting there thinking, have I done the right thing? But if you are a US expat and you're living in Spain or Portugal, we're doing quite a lot of business with US expats.
I was going to say, it's not just Spain either.
And France. We can actually sort out your investments for you to make sure they are PFIC compliant. And we've actually got this deal with a company in the US, and they're called, I have to put them, HBI Global, provide a no-cost initial tax consultation when you're referred by Black Tower. So they will make sure that you are IRS tax compliant. And you know what the IRS is like. It's not very nice if it gets hold of you.
Not nice people. They're not into it for fun.
Although they probably do enjoy it themselves.
They do.
I used to have another job, but this is way too much fun.
Did you work?
No.
Oh my God!
I never worked.
I was about to get some machete. I can't threaten violence. I'm not allowed to.
I've never even gotten a call from there. I've never even dealt with these people.
Yeah.
All right. So, if people are moving to Spain, what can a US citizen expect? Would the pension be taxed in Spain, for instance?
Well, if you take income, obviously you've got double taxation treaties, so you can't be taxed twice.
Okay.
But obviously, it's like the UK. If it has to be taxed in the US, it will, and then any extra tax will be deducted by the Spanish authorities.
So, is there a limit? amount?
No, why is there a limit?
I'm asking, is there?
Gosh, they'll take as much tax from you as they possibly can.
Sort of a level you can go to where they won't take any tax from you. No, you just get taxed anyway.
There is. It's fantasy land.
It is. The more taxes they're putting in each day, soon we'll just give them our money and they'll give us a little bit back for us to spend. There's tax on everything. But no, you have to be very, very careful. And as we know, in Spain, different regions have different tax rules. Yeah. And that's where people get very, very confused.
It gets a bit more complicated.
Yeah, because in France, it's just one rule for the whole country, same for Portugal. But in Spain, you move from Alicante to Murcia, it changes. You go to Andalusia, it changes. You go to Barcelona, it changes. So wherever you live, it's really important that you get the correct advice. And also, you're compliant with what the US want, because they've got much bigger teeth than anyone else, and they can be a little bit more nasty.
I realise that apart from... Well, along with Panama, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Greece, Belize, I used to live there, Nicaragua, the Philippines, Portugal is the country where there is a tax-free requirement for Americans abroad. So it's quite a good one then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there used to be in Portugal a really good tax a loophole with your pensions, so lots of people moved, but that's being closed now. And Portugal did stop the golden visa, but I've just read something today, they might be starting it up again.
I haven't.
Because they're having a change in government, so I'm not sure what's going on there. I know Spain is having problems with stopping the golden visa because they don't know what legislation to use to stop it.
Right. Okay.
So officially, the golden visa has not stopped yet.
No. People are still applying and still getting them.
Because we heard that it was going to be stopped.
It will eventually when they can figure out. They're trying to sneak it through Parliament attached to another bill so people don't question it. But obviously, it's a very hot topic because it affects a lot of people, and they're trying to find the right legal statute or wording, whatever you want to say, to make sure they can pass this through. At the moment, you can still get golden visas.
People are still applying and they're still getting them. And they're actually quite quick as well. So
at the moment, they are doing it very, very quickly. So I think they must get paid a lot to push them through. I shouldn't say that on air, but maybe that's the case. But no, they are still here at the moment. And then in Portugal, I did read something just before I came out saying they're looking at the golden visa again, because it's the EU that's been pushing for the stop.
They don't like it. The EU don't like it at all.
No, they're saying that it's
incompatible with their values? Or?
Yeah, it's going to the wrong type of people.
Yeah.
If you look at most people have...
Chinese and Russians mostly.
Chinese and Russians are the most people who've got the visas. And, the EU, the America, anti-China, anti-Russian at the moment...
And you know what? In the U.S. too, they're taking a good hard look at how many Chinese people can buy certain parcels of land in
we know that obviously we just had the big EV thing from the U.S. Europe are now doing it as well. So.
And also the Chinese have bought up most of South America. If you look at what they're doing in Peru, etc. So they're trying to get a foothold in the world. They're offering the money, incentives, and you've got to stop this. I think to a certain degree, but for golden visa for some people was the only visa they could apply for. They needed to work, and if you go for the non-lucrative, you've got to have that income from investments or pensions. So it has proved very, very difficult. So if anyone is thinking of applying for a golden visa, I'd get it in as soon as possible and get it sorted out ASAP before they find a way to pass it through.
Good advice.
Okay, people thinking about moving from the US then and need to talk about their investments and their pensions, Christina, who do they talk to?
They can get in touch with myself and I
What? Well, that's amazing.
Stop it. And I was going to add a caveat to that. And if I can't help them, I'll pass them on to the correct person in the US who can. If you just email our normal email, which is info@blacktowerfm, that stands for financialmanagement.com, and put for the attention of Christina, it will come through to me. Someone will phone you just to make sure who you need to talk to, and we will try and help you. But if you've got any questions at all, if you are a US expat and you're not sure, please get in touch. One of our experts will be able to help you. And even if it's a taxation query, as I said, we've got this company that will give you the initial consultation free. You might as well take them up on that offer if you're referred by Black
Can't turn down free stuff.
Don't screw up with the government.
No, don't.
Especially
when it comes
to your taxes.
Yeah, because they are
Get it
little
done. Get a pro.
They are little BASTARDSs.
I knew there'd be one word like that in there somewhere today. Thank you, Christina.
Baskets.
Thanks for your info on that. And we'll catch up again. In fact, I think you're on with Moody next time, talking about various different investments.
I might be.
and
I'm
so
not
on.
sure,
I
but
think you are.
he's a bit of a pain, isn't he?
Well, he's standing in the corner filming
that's why I
everything.
said it.
That's right.
Because he's
exactly
being punished, that's why.